Hello, and welcome to our second session of Fearful Symmetries, which is a Magicians in a Secret War in Interwar Britain campaign frame, more of an improvisational campaign style frame from Pelgrane Press. So let me talk briefly. We have some mechanical questions from last time. Oh, hey, by the way, my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him. So just want to get that out there. We'll talk about our characters here in a bit. I do want to mention so kind of a general guideline. Of course, we have our lines and veils. We'll make sure to take a look at those. We have our X card and our open door policy and safety tools. One of the things I do want to note as we start out, especially these first few sessions, I'm usually pretty good about rolling with things, improvising, things like that. There may be in these first few sessions more of me checking the book because there's a lot of names and places until we get some things sort of like directed concrete. There's a lot of potential threads to go in. So I'm going to apologize for that up ahead of time. I want to talk about magic, how magic is used, spells, those kinds of things here at the start mechanically. Last time, everyone, all four of you who participated in the ritual would have gotten 1 point of magic. Alan would have gotten 2, or rather Arthur Whitewood would have gotten 2 as the leader of the ceremony. He then immediately invested one of those points into resetting the protections and dedicating the place. Magic is a resource that can be used for variable effects. In the course of that, there are more specific rules about magic. I want to talk generally how I'm going to approach that here in a second. Magic is a resource that does not necessarily, when you spend it, come back immediately. You need to return to a font of magic to re-up that. And you can attune to multiple points of power on the ley lines to build that up, to develop it. In the sort of dedicated Trail of Cthulhu rules, having more than like 2 points of magic starts being really bad. I'm not necessarily going to hold to that. But doing spells, once you know spells, once you have learned them through books or grimoires or whatnot, those are things that are stability spends. They cost you stability to do those kinds of effects in magic. For ritual things, for bigger things, for invested things, those are things that you might spend magic on. There's also probably going to be a stability cost, but magic is a sort of stronger sense of power, a stronger ability to exert your will on the world. Now that you have attuned, now that you have a point of magic, that you are initiates, one of the things you can do is you can spend a point of stability to essentially open your vision to the mystical world in a scene, to use that to see unusual things, to observe the world of the occult and the unknown. That is another benefit that comes from this. There are other details of this, but that's kind of the basics of how we want to think about it. There is the possibility of doing certain kinds of improvisational works if you're willing to use magic, but these are things that carry a certain amount of risk. Magic has a cost, and if you're trying to do it wildly with the power, you may succeed and it may be really useful, but there may be some long-term costs for the characters. So I just wanted to get that out there for everybody to think about. We will dig more into magic as we go along. I just kind of wanted to start at that like outer layer of how we're approaching that today. The second thing is that all of you dedicated yourself to one of the Zoas last time, the Blakean forces, and you will actually gain a benefit for that. Though I need to find the page that has that right now. Essentially, by dedicating yourself, you connect yourself to the Zoas, and you will get a passive benefit that remains going. But again, let me get that here. I've got it. So these are the incarnations that each of you have dedicated yourself to. So let me ask this, Dr. Whitewood, what was the incarnation that you dedicated yourself to? Which of the Zoas?
I'll introduce myself. My name's Alan. My pronouns are he, him. And Arthur is dedicated himself to Bromion.
Bromion. So essentially, this gives you a free point per mystery. It says to spend on any knowledge ability.
Right. You'll need to remind me when a mystery comes and goes.
Sure. We will kind of like, because this is a more improvisational or free-flowing campaign, I will try and signpost out points at which we're like, okay, I think we're at a case break, or a point at which we can refresh and all of that. Wilford, what Zoas did you dedicate to?
Hi, I'm Paul, he, him, and the Zoas I dedicated to was Palamabron.
Okay. So Palamabron has a very interesting ability. Now, all of these abilities are things that you have to activate. You spend a point of stability, and essentially they remain in play during that time. Palamabron allows you, essentially, when you're dealing with forces and foes, when you've spent that point of stability, you can't be attacked unless you attempt to injure someone. And then Miss Grimaldi?
Arisen.
So you get +1 to rituals if you're leading the ritual.
Okay.
And Richard Fraser?
Los, the vehicular form of Athona.
Okay. So you get a free investigative point to spend on any technical ability, or +1 to any general ability spend.
I'm not sure I understand, sorry.
So what it is you spend a point of stability, and you can use that to change a point of stability over into an investigative ability of any kind.
Okay.
Or a +3 to a general ability spend.
And is that permanent?
It's when you, in a scene, you spend a point of stability to call on that incarnation, and then essentially until significant time passes, or until you use it, you can utilize that benefit.
Yeah. And then it's, so I guess what I'm saying is, when I spend that point of stability, am I taking it off my stability maximum and trading it for a permanent one pool in investigative? Or
Oh no, you're spending a point of stability, and you temporarily, until you use it up, have that +1.
So in PBTA terms, I'm taking a +1 forward to a technical investigative one of my choice, or a +3 on an general ability spend of my choice. And when that's done, I can refresh my stability back up to the normal cap, depending upon.
Or you could keep spending stability to get yourself that great bonus.
Well, you know what I'm going to do.
Obviously. Oh, I know exactly what you're going to do. I'm going to see that.
I have as little stability. I have the least stability of everybody on the team.
Burn brightly or not at all. I think that's the most important thing.
Hey, what would Milton say?
Yes. So we are taking up with our group in the wake of events from last time, but I want to check if there are any other questions, mechanical or otherwise, before we get rolling. Okay. So I imagine, in terms of sort of placement following the discussions and some tussling over things, that Arthur, you have gone back to your lodgings at the college. I imagine that. Do you think, Isabella, I mean, do you have an apartment provided by your father? Are you staying at a hotel? Do you have a friend at one of the women's colleges who, has rooms you can stay in? Where do you think you are?
Let's see here. My guess is that she's probably staying at one of those hotels or like apartment buildings that's for women. You know, the one where they have the concierge and all that stuff. I assume that was what was going on at that point in Britain.
There certainly would be something like that available.
Yeah. So for young career women, and because it's a thing. So yeah.
Well, and you have the excuse that your father is a known, internationally known entertainer. So
it's so boring.
But I believe that Richard, you opted to stay at the house.
Of course.
And what did Wilford do? Did Wilford also stay at the house?
I think Wilfred will stay at the house because it's a lot better than sleeping in the park.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think the thing, of course, that is that at this point in time, while we have the colleges and that makes up the heart of Oxford, this is still a very agricultural city at this point in time. It is still a fairly, I'm going to say it in the most American way I can, rural place. But that's the kind of location that we are in. So I do want to kind of go around and check in with people. Then, Richard, when you get up the next day, like it's autumn, it's crisp out. You hear the sounds of people getting ready for like the markets and things, and students moving around. It is autumn, so the session is in. What do we see you doing?
We see piles of books. I think Richard has slept in one of the servants' quarters. Because there was a couple of rooms here, I think, for the house staff as well as Crispy, right? And I think he would have woken up bright and early with the noise of it, and you'll see that he's got books and books and books that he took down from the library. He sort of flicked through as he was burning the midnight oil, trying to work it out. And I want to use this to take advantage of my profession, special ability, and give myself a refresh in occult, thanks to whenever you take a time during a session to read a book or write something down, you can refresh one spend in investigative academic abilities.
Absolutely. And again, I think you will see that she has, a fairly solid collection here that she's accumulated over time. You see the marginalia that she has in various books. And with all of these sort of older occult books, you'll see, the layers of marginalia from previous readers, the palimpsests of their notations and arguments and corrections and that kind of battle going on in these books.
Oh yeah, and only a few notes of Richard's own handwriting added to the collection over the last night or so.
Yeah. What do you think is written in the margins of an English Thorn? The copy that she has of that.
Oh, I think that Crispina's I think that she's got her own ciphered notes, like she has put her own notes into a cipher that is clearly based off the one I've been using to seed the hidden narrative of an English Thorn.
Nice. Wilford, where do you crash? Where do you sleep?
I think Wilfred will crash on the sofa.
Yeah. Yeah, and I imagine you probably wake up earlier than Richard, because I think you're probably a little more sensitive to the sound of people and the town, that kind of alert that you have to be. What do you see you do first thing here?
How much on the edge of the town is, or is this deep in the center of the town?
I think it's kind of a split the difference. Like you're in a residential area that you can walk to downtown from here. People do move around here. You might look a little odd just because of who you are and how you present, but no one's going to stop you here.
I think Wilfred would 100% right. He will rise a lot earlier than probably Richard, unless Richard stayed up all night. And I think probably Richard would see Wilfred. He would have come in. I would have probably gone from the house at dawn or maybe a bit before, and gone out into the rural area of Oxford. And I think he'll return with one or two hares or rabbits that he probably would have snared. And I think he'll come in. He's a very good outdoorsman, so it's not really going to ruffle him too much. But he'll just hold them up to Richard and say, we'll never know when these could be handy. We always need some food, Richard.
Yes, Mr. Brumble, as he looks blearily from the kitchenware. I think he's just shoved all of the detritus at Crispina onto the floor, basically, and he's washed out a couple of teapot, and it's brewing. And he's like, "Yes, Wilfred, Mr. Brumble," and he pulls out. We're out of milk. Tea? I don't know if you see a shop anywhere. As he pulls out his wallet and pulls out a fresh crisp pound note, right?
I'm sure I could. I'm sure I could get some luck with that, Mr. Fraser. I'll be back. You get that kettle brewing.
Make sure you get whatever you want for breakfast, sir.
Oh yeah. I'll get some sausages and stuff. And I think some coin in his hand is worth a lot. Mm-hmm. So he's not dishonest. So he will spend a good chunk of that on a hearty breakfast and return back to the house. Probably enough for maybe 4. Not that he's not too sure that the others will return.
Okay.
I'm imagining that with the access to money and food you buy, given that you've just been out to grab some rabbits, just in case, you'll probably come back with like a full-on, like every penny on whatever. And Richard, I think, has been just prodding the dead rabbits and pushed them off to one side of the table as far away from as possible for the morning.
And it is, I mean, mostly what you've got here left in the household is some staples, because the housekeeper hasn't been ordering in anything, and most of it has been gone through. So it's probably jam and sugar and some flour and very little else. Maybe some crisps, but they've probably gone quite stale at this point.
I don't know if they even would have sold packaged crisps at this point.
Yeah, they come with their own little flavor packaging in them. So
Smith's crisps, Smith's crisps with a little salt in it.
Yeah.
A twist of blue paper.
Okay.
Take it from people who were around there at the time.
Let me then check with Arthur. Arthur, you may have come away a little dissatisfied with the fact that Wilford and Fraser were clearly going to be remaining in the house, and at that point, that late after everything that had happened, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I've had a difficult night. I've been worried about them there. I mean, clearly, they're squatting. It's illegal. So yes, after an early breakfast in college, I will set off to the police station.
All right.
And I need to explain that a good friend of mine has left Oxford, and I want to just I and some friends of hers will be staying there, and I want to avoid any fuss.
All right. I think that cop talk or bureaucracy or even a credit rating spend, these are all legitimate spends to make sure that the police are aware.
Yes, I mean, I'll of course need to talk to the superintendent, and I shall blag heavily the work I've done for Scotland Yard, and make a spend of cop talk.
Is it Dr. Whitewood? Is it?
It is. Arthur Whitewood, pleased to meet you, Superintendent. We're going to, as I explained, a good friend of mine, a Miss Weiberg, and give him the address, invited us to stay while she's away. And I just wanted to check in with you in case the neighbors say there are some strangers in the house.
Well, I appreciate that. May I ask, Dr. Whitewood, are you here following up on a case?
Oh, I couldn't possibly say, Superintendent. It would be improper for me to share that. But
he'll nod and say, if we have matters that perhaps touch on your particular area of expertise, may we call on you?
Oh, my dear fellow, of course, while I'm here. And indeed, take my card in the future were anything to come up. Do not hesitate to get in touch.
And certainly your name has been associated in a positive light with the investigations. So he will nod and we'll take that, and it will say, I will speak to the patrolman and make sure they are aware of that.
That's very good of you. As I say, just wanted to avoid any confusion.
And Miss Grimaldi, what do we see of you?
I had the sense that we might be going out to the rollright stones. So, of course, when I get up, the first thing that I do is I go and get a map for driving out there. I prefer to have all of those things myself. And as well, they probably haven't thought about lunch. So I will buy a set of box lunches then, and pack those up. Do we have, like, I assume she has a car, in the sense of like she's rented a car at some point, or is that not the thing that you do?
Well, right now, probably it's walking around.
Right, exactly. But I meant for
here,
going out to.
That's cars are on the rise
That's
at
right.
this point, but we've also still got a lot of horse traffic. I think renting a car is probably a pricey proposition.
Sorry, it's because I'm from LA that
Right.
I am. Yes.
That you go and ask about that, and if one of your comrades doesn't have a car, certainly you can hire a driver
Okay.
who will drive you out.
All right. Yeah, so I will order the lunches for pickup to come back later. And I suppose I will walk down to Crispina's house.
Okay. And I think you'll arrive as Wilford is returning, very domestically, with an array of goods. He's clearly thought this through, and you could see he spent a chunk of money on breakfast and rations of some sort.
Oh, yeah, I think I will, like, because it's kind of loaded down. I will take one of the packages under the thing of looking under it, looking into it, like I'm curious. Essentially, I'll demand that he let me see what he's bought as we're walking down the sidewalk. So
thank you very much, Miss Grimaldi. Thank you very much.
Ooh, sausages.
Bacon, sausages, some eggs. What more can somebody want in the morning?
Exactly correct.
And Mr. Fraser's got a good party going.
No coffee, huh? Okay.
And I will look at you quite weirdly.
And I think, Mr. Grimaldi, maybe like when you return back with Sir Wilford, I think you'll be surprised at just how much Fraser has not done anything to alleviate the mess in the kitchen.
I've washed 3 cups now, and there is a pot of tea which was previously soiled. I think you'll find it rather a great deal. Thank you. Just don't look behind the door there, where the pots and pans and plates and cutlery have all been piled in the corner. Yes.
Pushed off to the side.
Sorry, Sherry. Can I ask you to rename yourself, just because I have my brain short?
Oh, I thought I had done that.
Miss Grimaldi. Sugar. I think Wilford's brought the milk. Yes.
Yeah, I don't need sugar or milk, thank you.
Oh, well, there's a spot of, I think I found, and he picks up, rubs it. There's a not too shabby lemon here. Crispina must have dropped this one.
And she goes, oh, all right.
And I imagine that when you arrive, Dr. Whitewood, it's a something of a messy domestic scene, but the three of them having tea and some breakfast set up.
And I'll happily join in with a cup of tea. I've had breakfast, obviously, but and we need to decide what we're going to do.
Well, I think there's 2 plans of action. There's Ashby de la Zeus, and there's the Stones.
Well, it strikes me as, in fact, there are 3 things, my friends. There is this Ashby Wake House is they've called for help from Crispina, but Crispina, on the promise of giving her some access to some papers, but clearly they would only be able to help us to know what Crispina was looking into, as opposed to who was responsible here or where she may be. This letter from this mysterious whoever they are, mentions the Rollright witches, and this he picks up the Book of New Jerusalem, and this rather fascinating text. I'd heard about this book, but rather interesting. It's mentions that the Rollright stones may be able to answer us any kind of question, whispered to one of the knights. So it offers a lead in two senses, but Mr. E also references this bookseller in London, who he warns Crispina away from. So I would say our leads for Crispina point towards Roll Right itself, or back to London for the bookseller. And perhaps the identity of who this mysterious correspondent is. The poor residents of Ashby Wake and whatever they're dealing with that's broken this poor fellow's arm, I fear is of interest, but perhaps not of importance, of urgency.
Well, yeah, Ashby le Zeus. It's up north, and nothing good comes from up north. So,
I'll drink to that,
London.
Mr. Farrell, as he raises the cup.
Aye. But the Stones, I think while we are in the countryside, we should give the Stones a visit.
I wouldn't disagree. I think the loyalty we should feel to Crispina would suggest that the Stones would be a good place to start.
Well, whatever it was interfered with the work that we came together to achieve. Even if we can't find Crispina there, perhaps we can, I don't know, pursue some means of restoring. Sorry, out of character. Mm-hmm. We are our magical society. Our understanding of coming together is for that restoration of an Albion already, right? Like we have discussed that. It's not about Sorry, this was right before I started saying, like, our goal of restoring Albion, to remind myself, actually, that is something that we in character have all conceptually agreed to. Something stands between England and Albion, and we should find out what.
Miss Grimaldi, what say you?
All I know is that in the ritual, that burst of energy that came through headed towards the Roll Right stones. It seems to be the place that might have the most information for us.
We should be careful. Whoever this correspondent was warned of of Crispina's trusting the Roll Right, which is particularly concerned with a dice and a Montjoy.
So I take it that you finish your breakfast, gather your things together, and hire a driver? Or do you think that one of you has a car?
I mean, do any of us drive? I mean, I thought it would be rather wonderful if we caused a stir with Miss Grimaldi driving us.
Oh, I do drive, so.
Richard's reasonably good at driving as well, but I think it'd be much more fun to see Isabella.
Actually, I have to check to see if it's a skill, because I may not have taken it. Okay, then you should probably do it. So I don't think
It's not far from Oxford. I mean, we could cycle there in 2 hours. So,
hey, you want to
my dear fellow, don't be silly.
If you want to spend a bill point on it, Sherry, this could be where you receive some driving lessons on the English background.
All right, that's it. That's probably a good idea, since the roads would be the different way. So, okay.
Let's see. I think someone with a credit rating of 2 or 3, at least, making a credit rating spend will ensure that you have access to a vehicle throughout your time here in Oxford. Does that seem fair?
Mm-hmm.
I'll happily make that spend. I think I'm probably the most liquid.
I mean, we're actually equal now, I think.
Right.
But certainly, if the good doctor puts his hands in his pockets first, Richard won't volunteer.
You've already paid for breakfast.
Indeed.
I mean, for what it's worth, anyone who reasonably could have been taught to drive can drive. the definition of driving is all about defensive driving and driving under pressure.
Oh yeah,
So,
true.
Don't feel the need to invest that point unless you really want to.
I wasn't sure if that still held true in the 1920s versions of the game.
I think someone in California, it almost certainly does.
Oh yeah.
And by the 30s, as I understand it, for people who are of a certain status, you would have borrowed or learned or had a family friend or something that had a vehicle at this point.
Mr. Brumble learned driving in the army.
I did.
Yeah.
Or do what my granddad did in real life. He claimed he had passed a driving test, but the Germans actually bombed where the records were held. So he point blankly said, "I did," and it was held there, and they actually gave him a license for it, and he never did pass one.
Oh my gosh. So you will gather yourselves together and you will head out to North Oxfordshire. Also, again, I am going to mispronounce various Britishisms here. I'm just again going to apologize here.
Sheer, lol, not Shire.
That's
Sheer.
what I exactly
Sheer.
realized as I said it. And this is the first time that the four of you have been out in the outdoors, really, since you initiated yourselves to the lines of power. What do you think feels different to you, Dr. Whitewood? Like, what is the thing that you notice?
I think it's on approaching the motor car. I see the motor car not just as a machine, but as a channeling force of the Zoa. It is the Zoas put to work by science.
And Richard, as you are driving out here, like, what is the thing that tells you that this is an agricultural area? I mean, you're used to life in London. I don't know where your character grew up, but is it agro place that's? Pardon?
I think he might have grown up somewhere around this area, this direction out of London. Maybe not Oxford directly, but within that kind of Oxfordshire, like Surrey, sort of wherever it is. But this is very familiar to Richard. I think he's
What do you see that's something that you're struck by that you thought would have changed but hasn't?
Children.
How so?
They're working. They're working. They're busy helping out. You can see the lad on the horse, on the pony and carts and stuff. They're up early. They're working the farms. They're not in schools like they will be in London. They're not in the factories like they might be in London. They are visible. They are out, and they're with their families at least, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. And Wilford, again, you are London bred, and now here we are, kind of out in the country. What is your reaction to this?
I think it's the sort of lack of smog, and the sort of cleanness of the air that you only get in the country, and probably, I mean, in the car, I'm not going to get the quietness of the place, but it is the slowing down of pace of life in the countryside, but the cleanness of it, really. I think that is always quite startling when you've been in the city.
And Isabella, what do you think is probably the most dramatic difference for you between your life just a few weeks ago in California to driving through this landscape.
Oh God, everything is so old. It's so old. It is impossible. It's like thinking back, she realizes how new everything is in America, but even like in LA that's building rapidly. It's just here, like the fence posts look like they're centuries old. And it's like it's brain breaking. And they don't think anything of it. No one thinks anything of it. Everything here is so much older than anything that she's ever seen in America.
And you will drive up as sort of close as you can before stopping. This is grasslands around in the area, of various scrub bushes and things like that. There are probably some fencing to keep out heavy traffic into this area, but the four of you will walk out. Again, it is a circle of stones there. They are in various states of decay. These are the knights of the circle. There is a king stone to it that is larger and more intact than the others. And I think the thing that will strike you is lots of birds around here. Lots of birds in the bushes, by the stones, on the smaller trees that are around and about the area. Crows and others, perhaps notably so. Yes, Wilfred.
I would like to use my outdoor skill. I don't know if it's spend or not. Are the animals behaving strangely?
Go ahead and make that spend. I think that as you kind of come towards a circle and you're looking at the animals, they are. There is an awareness to the birds, in particularly to the crows that are scattered around, the way that they're watching you, the way that they're observing. It feels purposeful.
I will warn the others. Something's afoot here. Those birds ain't right. We're being watched. Magically, perhaps.
Really?
I ain't sitting right with me. If I had a shotgun, I'd scare him away now.
Steady now, chaps. It's just simply some birds. If they're paying close attention to us, then it may mean that we are simply in the right place.
You city boy, you don't know. That ain't right.
Mr. Brumble, I grew up not 50 miles down that way, and he gestures over there. Hasn't been back since he went off to London. But still.
Yeah, and you never left your stately home either, boy.
It was more of a townhouse, but I take your point. I take your point, sir.
It ain't right. That's all I'm saying. Gives me the shivers.
I wonder if these are the eyes of the Coven on us already.
Could be.
What do we know?
Go on.
Sorry.
Well, did those names, the names associated with this, they were what? Dice,
Dice and
Montjoy, and the Viscount Portmore seem to be associated with the Coven here. Do they ring any bells in terms of the locality?
I'm not sure that Viscount Portmore is associated with the Rollright Coven so much as another potential ally for Crispina, because he talks about the Rollright Coven and then he says, but Viscount. So I don't know. I'm just saying I don't want to. There may just be two other agent, other actors as opposed to necessarily aligned with the Roll Right Coven. But if he's a Viscount, I feel like that's something that we could do some sort of spend on to find out more.
I suppose
Yeah,
I was more immediately interested in Dice and Montjoy.
Okay.
Because they are distinctly associated. Are those names that have come up in conversation with Crispina?
So why don't you make an occult spend?
Okay. I will make an occult spend. There you go.
I think that two things will strike you in sort of looking at the names and thinking about this. Dice, you've heard of in occult circles. She is a young woman, apparently of some wealth, and she has a reputation for being, how do I put this, excitable. Among occult circles, she's said to be someone who is willing to or wants to undertake things with great enthusiasm and perhaps less caution than others might. The other thing that will strike you is, and it sort of points to maybe the chaos in the mind of the author of this letter, is when you kind of Montjoy isn't a person, but it's a place. It's a house. Walton Montjoy is a place, and it's actually the seat of Viscount Portmore.
Is that in this locality?
It is a ways away. I think, let me see if I can, if you look, it is definitely to the south.
Okay, so it's not in the immediate vicinity. It's not that the coven works here, but is based at his county seat.
Yeah, it is. Montjoy is more towards central England. It is south and west of London.
Fine.
In terms of looking on the map, it is marked on some of the ley line maps. Does that seem like fair info for the spend? Okay.
Yeah.
Richard, were you going to make a spend of some kind?
I might. Was wondering about perhaps oral history about some of these people involved, the Roll Right witches, perhaps, as if there's a pub to stop at on the way, or like in town whilst Whitewood finds a car, someone willing to lend us rent us a car basically nearby. Have a chat with some people about Dice, the Roll Right witches, the stones, etc.
What is it you want to know? Like what's your focus here?
I think my focus is on gossip more than anything, in fact.
Okay, but what is it like? Is it the Roll Right Coven that you want to know
the
about?
Roll Right Coven. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I assume is linked to the Roll Right stones, right? Like, but the Coven is the focus.
You will get a name when people talk about this, about the Coven. They talk about the woman who leads it. I mean, and they don't say the Coven, but the women who see the stones. On the solstices, they're out doing things out there.
Those mad women out there on the stones, waving their hands around.
No, don't call them mad women. They're proper ladies of the area. But the name you get is Myra Dearman. Dearman. She's the one in charge. We don't do any shooting near the stones. Something odd with the birds out there.
Aha. Where does Mrs. Dearman live?
Oh, she has a cottage. It is a ways within the walking from the stones, but if you ought have no worry. If you go, she'll find you.
Fascinating. And he hands him, I don't know, would we have had cigarettes at this point in time? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
In the UK, yeah, okay, yeah. So hands him a cigarette, and a matchbook. And doffs his cap as we get back into the car, right, and drive on to the point where we are at now.
Yeah. Miss Grimaldi, since we've kind of been at the edge of this, I think it is you that will see as you are walking up towards the stones, and Wilford's attention is occupied by the birds, and has mentioned this, that you will see this woman. Has she been waiting there? Has she just stepped out from behind one of the stones? It's uncertain, but she's a kind of matronly figure.
Mhm.
I have a picture of her in the NPC tab.
Oh, okay.
And she will look at you appraisingly and approach. She says, "You're American?"
I am. And she goes, "You seem very familiar with these stones."
It is the heart of this place. I am Mrs. Dearman.
I am Isabella Grimaldi. And she'll offer her hand to, shake her hand. It is a pleasure to meet you.
You, I don't think we have a name for the society yet. You and your comrades have come here with purpose?
We have lost someone, and we are seeking.
There is a crackle on electricity about you and your companions, and she steps now, so she's kind of addressing all four of you. Were you the ones who sent the bolt through the lines?
Oh, you felt it. What did you feel,
did.
Mrs. Dearman?
And you are?
Dr. Whitewood, Arthur Whitewood.
And she'll turn to you, Wilford. And you, stout yeoman.
Well, Mr. Brumble. Pleased to meet you.
And finally, she'll turn to you, sort of the youth there, and you.
Mr. Fraser, Mrs. Damon. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. Perhaps you knew, I believe you may have been familiar with our friend, Crispina Weinberg.
We know of Crispina. She has come here and spoken to us. She petitioned for our aid in workings, but it has been our policy not to intrude beyond this space. What has happened?
We were undertaking a working, and I fear dark powers were drawn against us. And Mrs. Weiberg, well, we were hoping that you may be able to help us for whatever it was that struck at us through this ley line.
What do you want to do for your interpersonal spend from any one of you to like try and build up some rapport here? Is it a cult or is it an interpersonal? What do you think is appropriate?
I could make a spend from reassurance that we're to be trusted. And I think I'm slightly nervous about whether we triggered that ley line or whether that ley line was the route in for what intervened in our working. But I think at this point I want to get her on side. So I'm at my emollient best.
Okay. Let's have you make that reassurance spend. She'll
Okay. There you
go. And she will say, if you will walk the ring with me.
I'd be honored to do so. All of us?
Yes, all of you. And she will walk you around the perimeter. She'll say, we have secret names for each of the knights that we have listened and learned over the years. I and my sisters have protected this place. We are dedicated to it. The ley lines run through here, but not all places that are upon the lines are connected, nor are all places controlled. That is the war that is coming.
War?
There has been a change. The lines have been awoken, and there are those like Crispina, like yourselves, that are seeking to, I do not want to say harness, but to attune to these places, to dedicate them towards a particular purpose.
Towards good.
For those who are altruistic, it is, but there are many who are selfish and petty who are seeking these things. Their flash that we felt was the energy as you joined your site in Oxford, correct?
Indeed.
To the network, attached it more fully. It lies upon the lines, but had not been dedicated to that.
So let me just understand this. So the ritual we undertook has connected the basement of the Radcliffe camera to the network in a way that it had not previously been connected.
Correct.
Okay.
But we could tell that something else happened. Something else reached from outside the network, from outside the lines in. after that crackle of power, we could tell that something had gone wrong. We could not tell what.
I don't think there'll be any question at this point that Arthur, I'm very happy to share with her exactly what happened. The appearance of this force, this red dragon, did we describe it as?
The red dragon was the book of LaRue Dragon, I think.
Yeah, but
Oh,
they
it was.
were red hands or red
They were
claws.
giant
Yeah.
red. They were
Yeah.
giant
Yeah.
red hands.
And I described it as echoing Blake's a picture of the red dragon.
Yes.
I don't see any benefit in not being open with somebody who clearly knows more about all of our, she knows of our work, she knows of our purpose, she knows more than we do, essentially, right, about everything as far as I can tell. So, quiet glances of like nods of like, all right, yeah, go ahead, Doc.
So yeah, I
I'm
will
going to ask her,
happily.
was she at the Stones last night then? Her and a coven.
We were not. But
you
we
said
could
But you
feel
felt
it.
it nonetheless.
You will.
I would like to look round the stones and see if there is any evidence of recent rituals.
Interesting. What do you want to use to do that? What do you think is appropriate?
I'd say either outdoors or forensics, really. Either of those two.
I think that you will step to.
I'll spend for outdoors.
Yeah. And you will definitely see that on the northern edge of the stones, that northernmost knight who stands there, that there is a black mark on the north face of that. And if you draw her attention to that, she will stop. She seems shocked. And she says that marks the direction of the northern path of this line. That was not here yesterday.
Did you or your sisters mark that?
No, it is a physical manifestation of what occurred.
So is this more of a magical mark, is it?
Yeah.
So nobody's come here and drawn it. Okay.
And she will say it indicates a power. We have had others who have tried to come here and perhaps convince us to join our power to theirs, like Crispina, but we have means of protecting our own and ourselves.
Are the birds your work?
I have a gift for nature.
Is Viscount Portmore among those who've sought your aid?
That he has come and visited us to make it clear that he considers himself the new wickedest man in England. but I do not understand his relation to the lines. I know that his stead is a place of power, but he is a cipher to me, to our coven. I know he has those who know the arts with him, but what he is, I am unsure.
Is his stead to the north?
It lies to the south.
Hmm.
If
This,
you have
what befell, what struck out at us, the entity of the powers that worked against us, for whatever violence they did to your to your own place of power, to the stones, we apologize for whatever our part may have been there. But whatever it was, whoever it was, well, they seem to have worked against your interests as well as our own. You speak of others who seek to control the ley lines. They will come for you, surely, if they are willing to use your place of power as a tool to strike out at us. For something so small as our working, then perhaps we make some common ground here.
that seems reasonable. I will tell you what I would do were I in your place, having seen a dragon. There is a well that lies south of here, north of Oxford, Fair Rosamond's Well. Go there at night and bargain with the creature that lives there.
What would this creature desire?
She wants children. You're clever folk, and I'm sure you can work out how to deal with her. But if she was close to what happened, this Jenny will perhaps be able to tell you more of what is occurring.
So if you had witnessed the dragon striking you via the ley lines, during your works, you would head to Rosamond's Well to bargain with Jenny.
I would reach out to creatures of the other side, closer, who know the nature of these things, who may be able to speak to what is happening.
I think Richard will look very unhappy at that exchange there, and deep in thought.
And she will say, should you need to call upon us for aid, we will assist you. This is the place of power. Should you need that power, we can speak of how that sharing might happen. We turned away Crispina because we did not want to be involved, but that was some time ago and the situation has clearly changed.
Isabella bought a map, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we might then cut to the map open on the bonnet of the car.
Okay.
I'm about to put a link in the chat. There's some excellent period maps. It's a hell of a link, but Rosamond's Well is on the other side of a small lake from Woodstock, which is on the way back to Oxford.
Mhm.
I'm not entirely sure. It's. I think it's on the land of Blenheim Palace, but we can probably find a way around that at night.
And for reference from the Fearful Symmetries book, the ley line maps on page 218 and 219 include some of the Oxford lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, I was wondering whether we would travel back to Oxford this afternoon via the Horstone of Entstone and Fair Rosamond's Well. But if she's directing us to Fair Rosamond's Well, all well and good. When she said, did she say Jenny? We were clever people able to bargain with Jenny.
Yes.
Does that mean anything?
I think that this is an easily grasped piece of oral history or occult without a spend. She's speaking
Jenny Greenteeth.
Jenny Greenteeth, who lives in the well.
Great. My only experience of Jenny Greenteeth comes from the Dresden Files, but she's not a good person.
Different strokes for different child eaters.
I had heard, and he pats his coat pocket with his copy of a Book of New Jerusalem in it, and he says, "You know, I had heard that the Whispering Knights could offer their own answers."
The Whispering Knights offer their own answers, but for those of you like us who are attuned to these things, you may not like what you hear, but you are welcome to ask.
100%.
Okay.
Now I say, Fraser, just let's be a little careful here. We are neophytes in all of this, and we've already lost someone. I'm concerned we may lose someone else.
It's the work requires courage, Mr. Whitewood. I'm sure you have it in you.
Courage is one thing, rashness is quite another, my boy.
I must ask them. I must ask the knights. Where is Crispina?
And I think Miss Grimaldi.
I owe her that much.
But am I alone in expressing a concern?
We have the skills now, maybe, and Miss Grimaldi shows an aptitude. I'd follow her opinion on this.
And I think she just looks at Richard and she's like, I think you've had your warning, but if you wish to race towards it, I will back you up as best I can.
None of us came here because we didn't want to know secrets.
So, Richard, you'll go to one of these nights and you wish to put a question to it. And what is the question?
So I've been, this is obviously like your chance to ask the gods a question, right? Effectively in terms. So I've been thinking about what the most reasonable one would be. And I actually think that the most reasonable one is just, where can I find Crispina? Because ultimately that's the pressing need, right? Is our friend Mentor was ripped away from us by giant red arms. So the question is, where can I find my master?
So I have a question for you. When you embrace this to do this, are you simply spending a point of stability to extend your senses and see what answer the knights can give, or are you spending a point of magic to try and connect yourself to the ley line and see what happens?
Ooh. I by connecting to the ley line though, I think would that be theoretically like not really doing what I cleared with Miss Wyman? You know, I'd be like going beyond asking the question that I asked, or would it be just the
it might be. This is all new territory for you.
That's true. I really want to do the magic thing. That just seems so very rude.
It does seem rude.
It does seem rude, but what do you want to do?
Yeah.
He strikes me as an incredibly rash and rude young man.
True. You know what? He's I think it is with that whisper, right? But he extends outwards as he asks that question. And it whispers back, you know, like he feels something in and he can't help, but he gets carried away with it. You know, it's a not knowing. He's only ever done these works in Crispina's style, you know, with like the preparation, the rituals, the arcane stuff, all under the guise of somebody else. So yeah, he'll put a point in. I'll put that point in because let's see what happens, right?
So I think you will touch the stone. You'll place your forehead against the cool stone and you'll look and concentrate. And I think that there's like the sound of the world around you kind of stops. I think you'll start to extend, you'll start to hear the whispers of the nights to connect yourself to this. And then you have this new power in you and you kind of reach out with that. And I think in the distance, you hear somebody saying, "No, don't." As you reach out and the night gives you what you want, and you will feel your senses shift and you'll move through these chambers like a painting, a description. It's familiar, but not familiar. The guardians of these chambers, and lying at the center, you will see this egg, and this egg is suspended, and you will see Crispina encased within this egg, even as it revolves. And then you will see this thing, this serpent, step forward. And that's the point at which the fire comes gouting down the line of the ley line. And you will take 9 points of physical damage. And all of you will see flame emanate out of the air, explode out, send Fraser flying backwards, burnt, and this stone cracks in half. This is where we're going to take our first break. Take 10. Let's deal with the other half of this now. For Wilford, Arthur, and Isabella, this is a difficulty 4 stability test. If you miss it, you're losing 2 stability.
Well, so I understand this. If I spend 2 stability, I roll 2d6 plus 2. If I get better than 4, all is well with the world.
That you roll 1d6.
1d6.
Yeah.
Add in what I spend.
Yeah.
And if I
you
get
need
more than 4,
need a 4 or better.
Or better, all is well with the world. If
Yes.
I get a 3, do I lose 4? Or
yes,
do I
because
lose...
you will lose the 2 of the thing, plus the 2 you spent on the test.
Okay.
And if you just roll straight, it's a loss of 2.
Yep.
With a 50% chance of surviving.
Of losing nothing. Yeah.
Yes, I think I will spend 2.
Okay.
Seems rash. Oh, by the way, I've linked the column health, sanity, and stability to the summary at the top. So if you keep track of everything down below, it will automatically fill at the top lines.
Nice. Thank you.
I think your mathematical logic is flawed somewhat there, Alan.
In what way?
Well, the maximum you will lose is 2, even if you don't spend anything.
Oh, I
So
see. Sorry,
spending 2 isn't really going, because then you still stand a chance of rolling under and losing 2 more.
So sorry. So it's a 4-point.
The
Check,
difficulty is 4.
4, 5,
Difficult-
or 6 to pass.
Yeah. Let me go. So the difficulty is 4, which is you need a 4 or better to get it. If you miss the test, you will lose 2 points of stability.
Okay. Or I can just spend to avoid the roll.
No, there's no spending to avoid the roll. You'll
Oh, I
always
see.
have to make the roll.
Well, then why wouldn't I spend 2?
Because if you still miss it, like I did when I rolled a 1, you'll end up losing 4 altogether.
Oh, I see.
But
I
the
see.
chance of that is only a 1 in 6 at
It's
that
tiny,
point.
yeah. So let's roll just 1d6.
Okay, straight 1d6. So that's a 3. So you lose 2 points of stability.
Okay.
Wilford?
I will roll straight as soon as it lets me in the site. I'm in, so here we go. 1d6. 5. Get in there.
You keep yourself together. And Isabella?
Sorry. Okay. I guess I'll roll 1d6 too, because I'll lose 2, but at least I won't lose any that I spend on it.
Right.
Oh my God, I rolled a 5.
You're
Yay! All right.
The test is a little more challenging for Richard. This is a difficulty 4, potential loss of 5. How much do you want to spend or not spend?
Difficulty 4, potential loss of 5.
Yeah.
I mean, spending 3 points would be the safest way to play this, wouldn't it?
It would be. If you have the points to spare, it is the safest way to spend it.
Yeah,
you know,
define spare.
more than I have.
Jenny Greenteeth is down the road.
Yes.
Don't worry, I got NPCs to sources of stability to throw into the bus as well. Okay, I will spend 3.
Okay.
I was toying with taking more risks just for the sake of it, but you know, I'm 1 HP. I should play more sensibly now.
So Richard,
I did. I only just made it.
Ooh. Holy moly. So you will, Richard, hit the ground. And the 3 of you saw fire in the air. You saw it gout. You saw it hit Richard. When you see Richard, there are no scorch marks on him. There are no burn marks on him. Like his face is flushed. And you don't see any visible wounds on him. But Richard, it feels like you were burnt that badly.
Oh, well, Richard is, lets out a strangled scream of pain and agony, and the egg, the snake man, convey in gasps of agony what he saw, and I'm going to try and say, as I look and my eyes see the cracked stone, as they wheel around. I'm going to try and bite out like a lie, which is, he was waiting. He pulled me in as soon as I even came near the line.
What do you think is the appropriate interpersonal to do this?
I think that is reassurance, because what it is involves fast talk. And I am putting them at ease in the sense of, it's a terrible event that's happened, right? Clearly, I'm the one who's worst off here, really, right? But not with. I'm covering up my rashness with a lie of, he sucked me in rather than I leapt in, basically.
A 1 point spend will reassure her that you were a victim of this, and in fact, she permitted you to do this. A 2 point spend will make it so that your fellow PCs will also be reassured that.
I mean, I don't care about lying to them.
Okay.
I don't have two to spend anyways. I will. Yeah.
It's less a question of whether you care lying to us. It's whether you care that we know that you lied to us.
Yeah, but
so I think that is
going to be like, you know what I mean? Like the whole thing here is to minimize the damage to
us. Richard, she will rushes over. She'll shout to you, Isabella, and she will go, "My bag is over by the 7th stone. Grab that for me." And she seems to be like genuinely worried and like maybe feeling bad that she permitted someone so untrained to do such a foolish thing. But I do think that Wilford, Alfred, Isabella, you all kind of know that you've been around Richard enough that maybe he's glossing the truth just a little.
Yeah, and he will be, talking like the power tapping. It's right there. The preparations, the working. It's so different than what it's been before. It's different. It's awakened.
Given I'm the only lost ability, I think I'm just shouting at him.
What are you shouting?
You bloody fool! You bloody fool!
I will rush over to him. I was going to say that sort of as soon as he took the damage. I'd want to apply first aid, but it actually doesn't look as if he's really taken any damage, does it?
This is the thing: is you could see that he is in pain, and if Isabella brings over her herbalist bag, she will apply some of that to Richard, essentially so that you can do first aid on him.
Okay. I will attempt to perform some first aid.
Okay.
On Richard.
First aid, I don't believe is. I have to go back and check. Is, I believe, for first aid 63. I believe it is.
For every first aid point spent, the patient regains 2 health points, unless you're healing yourself, in which case it's 1-to-1.
Yeah. So yeah, you can just spend the points. You don't need to roll.
Yes.
Or if you want to roll, you can roll as well.
No, I will spend all my first aid, all 2, because he knows not what he does. He's a nice lad.
He knows exactly what he bloody does.
I think he's still a nice lad.
Yeah. And I would have you roll first aid if we were under pressure, if you were under fire or something like that. So, so Richard, you may restore 4 points. Isabella, what's your reaction to all of this?
This is it. Is she's helping the other woman, but she notes that Richard, in this dumb thing that he's done, as soon as he gets flung back, the first thing he does is lie for what he does. It's like, whoa, okay. So noted.
So, no, I don't know if it's like that obvious, right? Because what it is I'm only really having to lie to her because her stone got broken.
Like, she understands why you lied. It's just that it was like, there you are, and I mean, you're clearly in deep pain, and yet the first thing out is that you're going to cover over for this faux pas of breaking the stone. So
and she will turn to you, Arthur, and she will say, "The fault is mine. I did not understand the depth of the powers involved here. Had I realized that, I would never have let such a novice, inexperienced, weak person.
Arthur bites his tongue.
I nod behind Mrs. Dearman. Yes.
I can only deeply apologize, Mrs. Dearman.
The fault is mine. I apologize. I will speak to the rest of my coven and tell them what we have seen. This indicates a more dire threat. What can you speak now, Mr. Fraser? Can you tell us exactly what happened?
I was drawn out there. As soon as I asked my question to the knights, I felt his power latch upon me and pull me through. And then I was where Crispina was, in an egg, and they weren't human. They were scaled. It was as though Satan himself, the serpent, stood there, and he unleashed all the fires of hell upon me down the line. Whatever we are facing, it is no mere practitioner of the art such as ourselves. It is a human, a demon.
Then you will definitely need the aid of other things, those who dwell outside, the spirits of the middle air and others.
Yes, and I fear we must make preparations before we even approach any of these. I did not. The art is so. No circles, no rituals, no. And then I was taken away.
Let us get you up. Let us walk. It is a short walk to my house, my cottage. Let us go there. We'll fix you a cup, let you catch your breath, and
I will lean heavily on Wilford as we walk. Still much in pain.
And she will take you, maybe despite some protestations, will take you to her cottage. Very classic, English cottage. The set designers from Hercule Poirot Mysteries have done it up very well, with the backyard with the little tables and so on. I think we cut to the four of you perhaps around the little backyard table as she's gone in.
I'd like to just put my hand on Isabella's arm and just have her hang back a moment and express my deep concern at the rashness of Mr. Fraser. I appreciate that you said that you thought he was doing wrong, but you would back him up if necessary. But the man's rash. He takes risks at a time when we know so little.
And she nods and she goes, indeed, he was. She goes, he exceeded my expectations of just how foolish he could be.
Indeed, and if we had to seek some communion with some fae from the other world, then please, I ask you, help me restrain his natural inclination to rashness.
And she goes, but did he get us an answer? Do we need to go speak to this Jenny person?
What, do you believe what he told you? We know he lied to her.
I don't know.
Well, I know he lied to her. Do you disagree? He stepped into this situation. He was not dragged into it.
No, but I don't think he has. Well, what he said he saw seems outside of a thing that he needs to lie about.
I suppose I still believe what she said, which what Mrs. Dearman said, which was that we need the help of those from beyond.
And
I
so
don't think-
we're going to feed a child to this.
Well, that let's not jump to that conclusion.
And she sort of stops and says, all right, you know more about this area than I do.
Oh, Miss Grimaldi, my childhood fairy tale books are full of these words, but what they mean is another thing entirely. I know my limitations.
And she sort of stops and says, at least you had the childhood fairy tale books. All right.
So we'll cut to having the four of you have a chance to talk, but she will, provide tea, and she will say, what dwells in the well is also called a river hag, a grindilo. She has a name. She is a cursed figure of the other side, distantly connected to the fairy. She had a child taken from her, and that is her want, is to try to find her children. And when it turns out that it is not her child that she has taken, then she does what she does. But she is also appeased by the rituals and things that are done there in that area to keep her from carrying these things out as much. But these are her wants: the protection of her well and this missing child. So know that those are the levers that you have at your disposal. And she would say, I will go and fix sandwiches. And then she leaves you to talk amongst yourselves.
Shaking hand, pick up the tea.
I think I feel obliged to run a medical eye over the man, despite him, in my opinion, having brought this on himself. And no sign of physical, but still clearly not yet himself.
He's clearly, what's going on is a lot of pain, both pain from burns and other pain. You could certainly do more first aid in the way of burn salves or pain relief to do that first aid.
And I will, during this period, describe in like full graphic detail everything I saw, every last detail to them that I can conjure back, right? Like the egg, the whole thing, so that everybody's got like that full on things that I saw as much as possible, rather than just a summary kind of it,
So if you get killed the next time you do something rash, at least the knowledge won't die with you.
Well, I also think that I'm not sure how best to articulate in character, but Richard's going to be talking about how England is awoken, the ley lines, the power. It's been whatever works we've done in the past have never been anything like this. It is much easier, and that he's going to say he's going to say in my rush I was. My fear for Crispina. Now I know where she is, but the cost is You were right. It was too risky. Our enemy is so much more than we are. Their power. We need to make sure we have our works and our protections and our rituals. We cannot. I fear what we may unleash if we do even the slightest magic with this enemy against us.
I have a cunning plan to deal with Jenny Greenteeth.
Speak on.
We were just warned that her wants are children, and I don't deal in children, and the protection of a well. So, what happens if we came into possession of a planning order for her well to be filled in with concrete? And we bargain assistance to remove that planning declaration by the local council. I'm sure somebody could generate a false planning.
Some kind of forgery, you mean?
I couldn't say there, Mr. Fraser, but possibly something to convince Jenny Greenteeth that her well is at risk, and we are the ones to assist her, because I don't deal in children.
I think it's a clever plan, I have to say. The idea of using a threat to the pool, to the fountain, or whatever it is. I suppose we'd need you to set you up somewhere with appropriate facilities, wouldn't we, for you to produce such a letter stamped by the local council?
I'm relying that Jenny Greenteeth isn't particularly au fait with planning material. So anything that looked a bit like a planning regulation.
So we're lying to her.
Stepping back a bit mechanically, a little bit of forgery, coupled with a bit of bargaining, interpersonal skill, I think could solve this situation.
Maybe a bit of law as well, like
there's many ways. I don't want to spend a lot of points, but some points spent are always good. And I don't deal in children.
More points. I want to spend more points with the sea hag than I would know.
Well, and I do have bureaucracy, so I could always go and get some generic form for you to start your forgery on.
I think that the two spends to prepare the document are a bureaucracy spend from someone to get like a sample of what this would look like to make it official, and then a forgery spend from someone else. And again, with most of these skills, we assume that you have the basic tools available to yourself if you have time. If we were like in a like difficult situation, we might make a preparedness roll. But I think in this situation, given you have an afternoon, that seems reasonable. Does that seem okay?
I just love that Isabella, is going to go along to Woodstock Parish Council and ask for a planning form.
I just want to be able to say I didn't come up with the lie to the fairy monster option. So when it all goes south, it's not my fault this time.
What's the better plan, Will? That or my answer on intimidation every time?
Really getting them to really threatening the well, coming up with some reason to threaten the well, like filing buying it or something, but because it's an actual threat, but that's much more effort than a forged one, way more effort.
Now just it is in Blenheim Great Park, so it belongs to the Duke of Marlborough, I think. So I think that we're going to struggle to actually buy it or threaten it.
I don't know. It might be a little light on cash. All you want to do is buy a nasty bond.
But I mean, what Mrs. Dearman said was we needed to do this in the dead of night.
To visit.
To visit Jenny.
That's how I interpret it. Lowell doesn't seem to be leaping in to correct me, so I think I am right.
Yep.
So I suppose the question is whether we turn up with something to physically threaten the well.
In addition to the document?
Well, I'm just wondering whether we can turn up with a document and try to convince her. I get that, or do we have a fallback, which is literally to threaten the destruction of the well?
A concrete wagon.
Well, I mean, I suppose I was thinking of something
Dynamite.
more demonstrative.
Phosgene gas left over from World War One that we're going
I was thinking of a set of
there.
sledgehammers to crack the concrete base.
I'm just worried
to threaten physical harm.
Yes, but I don't want to. She could be quite powerful, and I don't want to escalate to physical violence against her.
Okay. Okay, I agree. That was rash of me to even suggest it. No. Let's try to convince.
Richard's eyebrow raises inch by inch up his head as Whitewood lays out that plan of getting sledgehammers and attacking the well.
And plus, it's owned by the National Trust. Maybe you couldn't possibly do that, Mr. Whitewood. I will make the forgery spend.
Okay, Sherry, did you want to make the
bureaucracy spend? Yes.
And I think there is the montage of you going and playing the clueless American a little bit.
And because clueless but wealthy, clearly wealthy. So you're essentially.
Wilford, you're able to forge this document.
Yes, I actually come out of there with almost all of their documents, like forms to fill out, because I kept on changing my mind of what I needed, if that makes any sense.
And that's probably from the post office. And I've just got this wonderful picture of you having left, and then the postmistress leaning over the counter to a customer and saying, apparently she's American, lots of money, says she wants to build something. It'll be a new big house.
They're always building. They're always building, those Americans. While that is going on, Arthur, is there anything that you want to do while Wilford and Isabella are working on that particular angle?
I think that my initial inclination to let Frazier suffer for his sins, the fact that he has admitted that he done wrong, mollifies me slightly. So I'll spend a point of first aid in pain relief to give him 2 back.
Okay.
But I think the other thing I'm thinking is, how do you get stability back?
Stability is recovered relatively easily when you have a time to rest.
Okay.
Like it will recover once people have had a chance to catch their breath, and all of that will work, but it just, you need time to do that. Are you down stability?
I am, not desperately so. I was just reminding myself about how psychoanalysis plays into that, and I can spend 1 to give somebody else 2 back. If I spend it myself, I only get 1 back. So I think I'll hang on to that 5 for now.
Yeah, but if you want to spend the afternoon relaxing to recover your stability, you can also do that.
Oh, then very much so. Woodstock's a quite attractive town, I think. So I think that I will spend some time walking by the river.
Okay. So yeah, you can do that. And I think you can recover, let's say, 3 stability in an afternoon. Does that seem fair?
That seems very fair. Thank you.
What about you, Richard?
I will. You know what? I may as well use it or lose it, right? I will spend my point of psychoanalysis as the doctor patches me up.
Okay.
To restore, is it 2 points for him? No, like one to two. I guess.
If you use it on me, it gets me 2. If you use it on
Yeah.
yourself, it gets you 1.
Yeah, I don't see. My brain doesn't allow me to say that you can spend psychoanalysis on yourself, right? You give yourself therapy. Seems a weird one to me.
Well, I
will
think an
spend it on you.
exchange of the talking cure. We both spend 1, we both get 2 back.
Sounds reasonable to me as we talk about the depth of magic against magical power against us and reforge our bond to the society, right? And our goals. And otherwise, I think I will be sat in the pub buying drinks for people to talk about, the well. I think I'll spend another oral history to get, missing children, whatever the local gossip is, basically on this local myth and legend.
So I think that you'll be able to do that pretty easily. This is a place of some repute and legend and so on. So people are willing to talk about this. I think, let me see here what else might be interesting to draw from this. Hold on one second. Let me look up the Grindy Glow. The one thing that you'll pick up is that they can render themselves insubstantial because they are a fae of the water. So they are able to become water. You also know, they said that these things can move from place of water to place of water. That's why you don't want to cross them, because even if you go away from their well, or whatnot, they can find you. So you have the sense, though, that like the other fairies, there is a thing where once a bargain is made, they are bound by that. That is a pact for them.
Would it be possible, maybe requiring an occult spend, to build off of that and intuit some protections against, like the whole salt, iron, you know what I mean? Like whatever the flavor is here.
Yeah. So tell me, since this is a very classic thing, what is, if you want to you can spend an oral history, what is the thing that is the unique sort of physical weakness, bane for this particular creature?
I think it is brick dust.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I think something to do with, like the wells and the bricks and stuff like that. Like whatever's used to bind water in its dust form. So this is the equivalent of salt, or the circle of salt. Or whatever.
Absolutely. So you can go and get yourself some mortar dust and brick dust and have that ready. Isabella, your task was mostly to go and get these papers, which wouldn't have taken that long. Is there anything else you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think that her comment about not having those childhood fairy tale books is actually something that she does realize. Even though she has a good knowledge of occult, it's a sort of highly theoretical. It's like about the ideas about her experiences with the stuff that she encountered in the Americas, which doesn't seem to be at all like what's going on here. And so I think that she is going to go to the bookstores and buy herself as many of the sort of fairy tales and things like that, and talk to the booksellers about, like, what other books should she get, if because she's doing some research.
And they will give you a line on that. They will talk about that. Do you want to make an oral history or an occult spend as well?
I'll make an occult spend. So, yeah. And though I'm explicitly not looking for occult books, what I'm looking for is the stuff that has become so well known that it's part of, how do you say, just like what everyone knows, like that they believe it absolutely, because I think that there's power in that. Does that make any sense? Like, that's their sense of how these things work.
As someone is talking, they're kind of describing various, like, old Roman ruins and legends and fairy tales and things. At one point, the one of these people, imagine this is a bookshop, so there's the bookseller, but then there are two or three other people who will interrupt the conversation to add in their little storehouse of knowledge.
Exactly.
And at one point they're referring to something you didn't quite catch what it was, but then they say, like, at Ashby Wake.
At Ashby Wake.
Oh yeah.
What's there?
It's the horse, ma'am. That's what I've heard.
The horse.
Oh, we got a letter, didn't we, from Ashby Wake?
Yeah.
A beast.
It's Ashby Wake lies not too far from here, a little bit to the north. It's by one of the Red Horse of Tysos. Those old things. Some say that those were warning markers, but some say it has nothing to do with the horse that haunts Ashby Wake.
Interesting. Growing up, I thought, like, all these fairy tales were just like Cinderella. These ones are far more fascinating.
Oh, they're dark and grim if you're not careful. If they're unwary, can be pulled into these things. Dangerous places get pulled under the mound. That's what I've heard.
Ooh.
But one of the things that you'll pick up from talking to people is the reason that the sort of the Ashby Wake thing is top of mind is there is a mention that someone from the household came through here, apparently traveling around, looking for any kind of, like, folktale books or anything like that on the horse at Ashby Wake.
Interesting. Maybe they're going to put together, something for, to get more guests or something like that. A
I don't
tourist
know
attraction
this.
of sorts.
Maybe, perhaps.
Okay. Thank you.
We are going to cut forward. You've driven carefully up to the area around the well, but there's a point at which you have to essentially park out of sight and then hop the fence, as it were, and make your way onto the grounds. This is a big area. I don't think it's particularly patrolled. They certainly don't have dogs out or anything like that. But you are on grounds that you probably don't want to be caught trespassing, I think. So what do they call the covered lanterns? The lights? Yeah. You've got something like that, or you've got a very carefully put away torch, just so that you don't attract too much attention. But we'll say since a couple of nights ago was a night of significance, that was the full moon. And so you have that moonlight here. And you will set yourselves up and wait. And I'm assuming that everybody is attuning themselves to the spiritual realm. So everybody spend a point of stability. When you do so, one of the things you note is that the moonlight seems more solid, like a physical thing that you could reach and touch and capture or climb up. There's a lot of that feeling. The woods around has a portentousness, like it's waiting. And then at 3 a.m., there is the sound of splashing, and you will hear the crabble of claws on stone. And this figure will draw themselves up out of the well. It is horrible. It is a gruesome thing. The skin is blue, like the skin of a drowned person. The hair is scraggly, the face is distended, the fingers are claws as it makes its way up and out. And this is a real, for you, physical manifestation of the supernatural, like you have never seen before. This is a 3-point stability test. Difficulty is 4, 3-point loss.
I'll just roll a d6, I think.
Okay.
That's a 5.
You hold yourself together, Arthur. You prepared for this. Isabella?
We're so awkward. I guess I will just roll.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go.
Look at you. Also together, you've been reading about these things. You're kind of imagining in your head what it must look like. Wilford?
I will spend 1 point.
Okay. You're fine. That just the 1 point. And Richard?
I'm going to spend 2.
Okay.
And of course I fail. So how
So
much do I lose?
You lose the 3 points of the cost, plus you spent 2, so 5 total. What is it about what you're at?
Puts me at 2 points to stability.
Ooh, that is delicious. But it's only really delicious when we hit 0. What is it about this? Like, you prepared yourself, but what is it that you're not ready for? What makes this so shocking? And I mean, is it old dreams? Is it childhood fears? Is it just like the reality of this thing? Is it what you saw earlier today is still shaking you?
I think it is indeed perhaps a memory of I've seen this face before peering at me through the window of my uncle's house when I stayed there.
The face and the single claw tapping at the window, trying to draw you over.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing is its head turns like and looks towards where Richard is at as it kind of smells that fear. And it will say, I know you're there. Who is it who has come to speak with me?
Arthur looks significantly at Wilford.
I will turn to Jenny and say, it is I, Wilford. Do you be Jenny Greenteeth?
That I am. And she's now kind of moving slowly over towards where you're at. What business have ye with me?
We bring word from the mortal realm of peril that comes your way, Jenny Greenteeth.
Peril. I know of many perils, but peril from the mortal realm, is this a threat that you are making? I will tell you how I answer threats.
I will step forwards and put some distance between me and the others. I will say, this is no threat, Jenny. This is real. The mortals wish to fill your well. The War Office, and I will pull out my forged document. The War Office are going to fill this with concrete. No well for Jenny Greenteeth anymore, it seems.
Ah, who would do such a thing? They don't know the old ways. They don't know, though the fairylands are sick. They know there's still power in them, still reaches out. They don't know what I can call on. They don't know.
But who, Jenny? It's a faceless entity. It's the War Office. No person you can attack. It is a thing. This is the way the mortals work. But luckily, Jenny, we can assist. We have friends that can redirect the War Office effort. But for us to do that for you, Jenny, you must do something for us. We seek knowledge. Knowledge you have.
Spend a point of bargain.
I will indeed.
What is it you want from Jenny Greenteeth?
This is where I will flick to a flashback scene where my comrades will tell me exactly what I should be bargaining from Jenny Greenteeth.
Right. I think between the occult lore and Richard's legal knowledge, you can have put together a pact. Basically, you want information, and you don't want her to harm you or seek reprisals or any of that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's ultimately it. Like,
yeah,
don't murder us for bothering you and do horrible.
The physical harm from Jenny, I can deal with that.
Yeah.
So a pact or a debt that we could cash in later on. I guess what I'm thinking is that Mrs. Dearman told us we'd need the help of the others to get Crispina back. So I'm less interested in her giving us an answer now as having her in our back pocket for when we need to use her. Or am I misunderstanding? Or what
I think you want both.
Okay.
Isabella, what do you feel?
I mean, both is always better, isn't it? So
we definitely need more information that Jenny, that Mrs. Damon, our previous exposition fountain, told us could be provided by Jenny, right? That's why we were sent here, was to find out more information. But
okay,
I am. I feel that like you may have to offer a child for the both for the two pairs.
Well,
I
I'm
think
willing to offer an additional point of bargain.
either a point of bargain or a point of intimidation will get the other half of this.
I'm going to go for the
I want Wilford to seek to frighten that.
Yes, I will. I will intimidate her then, and I will say, your physical threats mean nothing to me, Jenny Greenteeth, for I am protected by Palomaron. If I said that wrong, as long as I bear no physical ill in your direction, you cannot harm me. Is that not right, Jenny?
Right, but you have others with you.
Possibly. They're a distance away. But anyway.
At this point, then I will definitely open my palm to reveal that I am holding a handful of brick dust.
Put your toys away.
Do we have a deal, Jenny? The War Office will look the other way. Somebody else's well will get filled in.
I will answer your questions. I will tell you what you need to know, as much as one such as I can say. And I will come once when you call. Call at water, and I will come and I will aid you.
A fair bargain, Jenny, I feel. A fair bargain. And we will honor our side.
What is it you need to know?
Who commands the Red Dragon, I suppose, is what we're looking for, really, right? Like, what is the Red Dragon and who holds its leash, I suppose, is the
Red Dragon is the Red Dragon. And I felt it reach out from its many-chambered mound. You and yours, as you are now, could not even begin to reach that place. You will need power to be able to breach it. You will need the help of one of us who is more powerful than I to open the seal. If you would fight the Red Dragon, you will need a weapon made to fight a dragon. And you will need armor to protect yourselves from the flames. Much of this can be found in the ferry, but you may have other means. You bargain with powers that are outside of my ken. But look to that. A powerful person who can give you aid, your own personal power, so that you can bargain on equal footing, a weapon and armor. The Red Dragon seeks to be reborn, and it has its vessel.
Oh.
And I think Richard will mutter the egg at that. And what of the lizard who walks like a man?
I have told you everything that I can for one such as I.
Very well, Jenny Greenteeth. We will honor our bargain, and we will see you once more.
As has been bargained, I will follow. and she will slink back to the well, kind of stand at it protectively, and then kind of slide over like liquid, and then roll down the inside of the well. And I think that's where we're going to stop for today. We'll take up to next time with the sort of four of you gathering and thinking about this in the aftermath of this bargaining. Does that seem fair? I would like to do a quick stars and wishes. Things you like, things you want to see more of, wishes, things you definitely want to see, things you'd like to see less of, more of, that kind of thing. Let's start with Dr. Whitewood.
Stars to Will for doing the rash thing. It doesn't deserve a star really, because he was always gonna.
Yeah.
And to Paul for what I thought was a genuinely cunning plan. And I love the way that Isabella is kind of, you know, the Yankee at the court of King Arthur kind of thing is delightful. So stars to all of that, and stars to you for getting us to close encounters with powers we don't understand. Wishes, I've got no. I mean, I just love the way this is kind of this is developing. I think now we have a kind of clear idea that we need to accumulate some stuff or some more pacts or powers in order to deliver on getting Crispina at the egg. And so I think anywhere we go, that's the kind of thing we're looking at now. So I've no specific wishes, but to see where this takes us. Thank you.
Sounds good. Wilford?
Really like the divergence of characters, you know, Fraser's I think his humanity in the scene with the breakfast stuff, and then his rashness, you know, I thought that was very, very good. Arthur's actual reaction to Fraser's, you know, playing the slightly older person. And I really liked Isabella's, when she went and got the books, it showed sort of depth of the character there. That was quite subtle, but you know, I very much enjoyed it. And to you, Lowell, for it always felt engaging. You know, it clearly there was no action, I don't think, at all, but it still definitely felt very engaging. I think that's a very good thing to see, that you don't have to have action general roles for it to still be quite horrific and entertaining sort of system going forwards. Just more of the same, really. I've got no complaints, so I shouldn't ask for anything more. Very good.
Okay. Isabella?
I am really enjoying this. I am, how do you say, a clueless Yankee about all of this. So one of the things is I'm always letting you guys take the reins, but following along with wide eyes. Hopefully at some point, my how do you say, by being behind the ball on what's going on will actually pay off so, for all of us. But yeah, this is really, really interesting. I'm looking forward to her more mechanical look at how magic works to pay off on the thing. And I just really like how it's like Wilford is very much nature and force of nature, and that comes through in his solutions and how he carries himself and everything, and that's great. Arthur is such a doctor, such a he has this notion, but he also has this sense of morality and think that he wants to be there, and it's so good, all of the arguments there. And yeah, Richard Fraser, oh well. He's such a mess. Really good. Thank you so much for this. And what do I want more of? I don't know. Right now, I'm going to agree with Paul and say more of the same. yeah, I think until we understand how our little group actually works, what the dynamic is and what our abilities are, this has been a great way to feel things out.
Sorry, I do have a wish. Yeah, at some point I want to see Isabella making some explosives with that chemistry and
Mhm.
threatening someone with them, possibly another Fae.
Awesome. And Richard.
More magic, more crazy stuff is always good. Thank you, Big Star, for nearly dealing me another 15 points of damage or whatever it was, taking me out. Like, big fan of testing the waters because I think you're doing a really, really good job of like conveying. Because I think like a Big Star is managing the divide between a normal Call of Cthulhu scenario where you have a normal world, and the deviations from that normal world, and we are to some extent invested in aware of the supernatural world and things like that, right? But I feel like this is a concrete demonstration of like the magic rules and like the preparations that you might need to take. Obviously it's a terrible idea to shove a magic point into the ley lines without any of the preparations and any of the things, right? But that means that now mechanically we know that that's what happens when you use a magic point. You need to do a full-on ritual for it. And there's what are they called in Lovecraft? I don't know. A snake man? Is that what they're called? Serpent man?
Serpent folk.
Serpent folk, yeah. So now we know we're facing a serpent folk enemy, I suppose, right? But yeah, big stars for Brumble's plan. I was slightly worried about, the threat is entirely imaginary, and what if Jenny Green Tea finds that out somehow? Is much worse situation than it would be, but I'm glad that really panned out. I enjoy Dr. Whitewood being such a stick in the mud. It's all true. It's just, got to play the rash character from time to time, right? And Grimaldi, I would echo the wish for seeing her make explosives, but I don't want to see her threaten someone. I want to see her use it on something. Like if we're going to go that far. And yeah, I'd love to see more of that stage magician background, that sleight of hand, the mechanical of it all come into play, because I think that's very different. But I think that maybe will come in different areas and when we're out in the woods or something, to a great extent.
Yeah, yes, at some point we have to be in a country house where Isabella is, making stuff appear to happen.
Exactly.
Oh God, yeah.
To impress people.
Well, and here's the thing is what is sleight of hand for other magic practitioners? What does that mean? In the sense of what, that's kind of like so
yeah,
that's
it would be
a
I think we definitely want to have a country house visiting, but maybe a country house at some point, a gathering of mystically minded folks that you can intrude on.
You'll be the dagger and you replace it with your costume fake, and then that's when the ritual goes wrong, that kind of thing. But I do actually have one big wish, which is that we come up with a name for our society, which is dedicated to, the whole restoring Albion via the ley lines and the magical reawakening of Britain and reconciling Britain's metaphysical, primordial identity, right, with the current fallen world that we inhabit. So
let's think about that between now and next time, and we'll do that. Talk about that name at the start.
I have one more star.
Yeah,
and that is that you thought you made me think for the first time in a long time, Laurel, that the next time someone approaches something of unknown quantity, I should tie a rope around their waist so I can pull them out of harm's way in an emergency.
You'd need to have a rope. Yeah,
indeed.
So I consider this like this is kind of, we got the first point. This is like you found the things you need to find to go on to the next step. So I consider that like these 2 sessions a case. So you get 2 build points.
Shouldn't it be 3 because 2 is so awkward, Lowell?
Fair enough. 3, because we have
Thank
short
you.
sessions. And you can refresh things. The stability will refresh because you have some downtime to rest and recover. Health. How much are you down, Richard?
I am currently down 3 points.
Okay, so yeah, that you can refresh that. Like that will recover over the next few days.
But not magic or
Not magic, no. If you spent your magic point, we have to like do in scene, you go into the place of power to restore that.
I recall that the book bit on magic, I looked it up because I was going to copy and paste it in. And I swear it does say that, you only get magic by attuning to places.
Yes.
But then later on, when you're looking at the magic in the the bit where it talks about like pillars of stability and like the player character creation sort of stuff, as magic just refreshes when you rest, like stability. So I think
there's some contradictions on that. I'm playing it a little bit harder, but I'm also considering it much more powerful in some ways. That's sort of the trade-off I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I'm 100% the idea. It gives us a mechanical reason to go seek out magical fonts of power, right?
Absolutely.
Rather than just you have a rest and back up.
Thank you all very much. I'm going to stop the recording.